So welcome everybody to this session on transforming and how to transform and scale a financial shared service. And from that perspective, what I'd like to do today is first off is just introduce you to our speakers. I'm really excited around what we are going to show you today, and like to welcome everybody to this session. Stuart Lee is the head of technology at Standard Chartered, and I'm really excited that he's able to share with us today some of his experiences, together with Jack Maloney, who's the technical architect for platform and technology within SAP. We'll also go to Swati Bellini, who's the SAP product manager for RPA, and she'll take us through some of the technical aspects and a quick demo on one of those use cases. I'm Mike Vorius. I'm the SAP COE for Office of the CFO Solutions in APJ. So let me just quickly go through today's agenda. I'll cover off a brief introduction. We'll then switch to Stuart and Jack, who will take us through the Chartered Bank or the Standard Chartered Bank's success story. And then Swati will take us through those use cases and a demo. I will refer to a poll at the end, and we will have time for Q&A. So please put your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them through the course if we can. But obviously, we have time at the end to be able to do that from that sense. This is unfortunately still a common scene where employees are spending time on manual tasks when they could be enjoying a more productive work-life balance. And in fact, when I refer to work-life balance, this is one of the focus areas of CFOs today around sustainability. So it's not just environmental, but also extends to include the human side. So making it, a great place to work in that sense. And, there's no fun in having to do a lot of these tasks that we've got to do in after hours, or even to that extent in a manual process. So unfortunately, that is still a common area that we're seeing today. This is what I'm referring to in being able to spend more time enjoying your spare time. And in fact, the Hacker Group have estimated that the use of automation can reduce the cost of finance by up to 19.2%. So this means that we're able to give back more time and reallocate resources to those areas where it's going to make a difference in that sense. So now what I would like to do now is to hand over and sort of get a real life example on what are the success stories with Standard Chartered, and I will hand over now to Jack and Stuart to take us through that journey. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the session. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it. Thank you. Over to you, Jack and Stuart.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Stuart, as well. So starting off today, as Mike said, there is a large percentage of customers and their processes that can be automated with an intelligent robotic solution. Joining me today is Stuart Lee from Standard Chartered Bank, and I think Stuart, let's start off with maybe telling us a bit about the functions and obviously the business unit that we had, maybe as a starting point for everyone here.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. So it's a SAP finance transformation journey. Standard Chartered global bank, 80,000 employees, 62 countries, and our scope is very broad and large from an SAP perspective. If SAP have it, we have it. We have FSDP and FPSL, which are the financial services products for data warehouse and subledger. S4. BPC, and something called Disclosure Manager, which you'll hear a lot about over the next few minutes. We have SLT, CFIN as ETL layers, Business Objects, AFO, SAP Analytics Cloud, as well as newer technologies like PAPM and Redwood for scheduling and so forth. A huge breadth of things. A 5-year program. We're coming into year 4 now. And I've been on this project since 2018. Initially, I was with Accenture, and now I work for the bank itself. It is finance transformation, but obviously finance being an integrated function, we have strong links and tentacles into risk, treasury, supply chain, liquidity, and so forth.
Wow, thank you. And as we can hear there, a large number or a large suite of SAP products and non-SAP products, as well as integration as well. So Stuart, looking at intelligent automation or hyper automation as one of the top trending technology trends, we could say, for a couple of years now. The bank has obviously a number of processes. Do we see that intelligent automation is sort of becoming business imperative, or what types of challenges can we see that automation is going to start to address from there?
I think given the size and scale of our investment in SAP, we have to make things better for our finance users. There's no finance user will run home excited because they're using SAP. What they get excited about is that SAP has enabled them to go home at 5 o'clock rather than 8 or 9 to speed up their month-end closing. Instead of Workday 16 to close the books, to do it in Workday 6, faster year-end. So that finance becomes a proper analytical decision-making, decision support function rather than an operational hub processing hundreds of thousands of manual journals and running reports manually. So as part of the journey, moving to a better data warehouse, moving to better reports, better looking reports, better user experience is very important. But ultimately, if we're going to be deemed successful by our users, we've got to take real, material amounts of time out of that month end, quarter end, and so forth.
Definitely. And I think obviously, we spent a large amount of time, together, obviously working through the project that we had in various aspects, and of recent the intelligent RPA, project that we had. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, what we've done at Standard Chartered Bank, and obviously the business processes that we addressed, as part of this automation?
Sure. So one of the tools we use is Disclosure Manager, which effectively is our presentation layer that sits between BPC for our group consolidation and our regulators. And it's a tool which allows many hundreds of users to sit and consolidate work and inputs and updates into over 350 reports that we have to produce, either on a quarter end or half year end or year end. And the request from the business was, whilst it's a largely federated model, so the users will refresh their reports, they will pull in the data from BPC as and when they need it. They wanted a power user concept, so a one-click refresh. So you click one button, all 350 reports are refreshed and ready, and they wanted to do that within 5 minutes. So that was a tangible KPI that we had to hit for our users. They can do it in their legacy system, but it's slow, it's clunky, it's not great. So it was a fairly defined, discrete, goal that we had to hit, and this was seen as an early landmark. Can we really make a big difference to our finance users using SAP technologies? So there's a lot of optics on this that we could get this right and get this to deliver what the finance users want.
Definitely. And I think, obviously, within the world that we live in today, everybody's working from home, and specifically with a lot of financial government institutions, hosting anything in a hybrid model, or obviously having automation, there's a large sense of security requirements around that. How does the SAP solution meet the requirements of Standard Chartered Bank's security rules and regulations, and obviously still aiming to achieve the business case and obviously the outcome that we want for the users as well?
I think this is probably one of the top 3 tips I would give to other companies thinking of using IRPA, which is, yes, in the financial services, we are normally subjected to very onerous compliance standards, which we have to hit. At Standard Chartered, we are on a cloud model, so we have a private data center, and IRPA in the Cloud Factory is a SaaS product, and therefore we had to go through quite onerous steps internally to prove that we weren't putting the bank's data onto SAP servers or anything like that. It was simply a trigger point to start the automation off. And SAP were very helpful in giving us everything we needed, the technical information to get through the hurdles within the bank to do that. And that will be the first tip I would give, which is start that early. You know, it doesn't have to be part of your project critical path when you get going. Do it early, do it up front, and SAP will give you everything you need to get that done. It obviously varies bank to bank, but you know, you could be talking 3-6 months to get through that compliance viewpoint. But the power of this tool really comes from it being a SaaS application, and you know, so that will be tip number one. It is compliant to us. We did get it through our standards, but we did have to present that internally for a number of forums, supported by SAP in terms of the technicalities behind the solution.
Definitely, and I think as you mentioned, you know, this was something that we spent quite a bit of time through, you know, getting assessments done, obviously ensuring that it was an ISO certified model and platform, to obviously start to achieve that end goal, you know, that we're talking about here today. In saying that, obviously looking at the high level process flow that everyone can see, obviously starting with the download of chapters. You've mentioned obviously the solution. We had some KPIs to execute this within about 5 minutes. What have we seen now that the solution has been live now for a couple of quarters? I think maybe 2 or 3 quarters. You know, what type of time savings or efficiency have we seen coming out of this? Have we met the objective originally, or anything additional from that?
Yeah, I think certainly we've hit the 5 minutes. The users are very happy, and for Q1 closure, which happened in April, the users were fully autonomous. There was no SAP support or technology support to do that, which was great. I think what the users want now is very different to maybe what they wanted before go live, where they were asking, hey, could you move this button here, or could you change the color scheme? Can we add SAP branding, whatever? Now it's more about, hey, this is great. This is giving us a bit of insights into this process. Is there further data you can give us on exception analysis and things like that? So they've moved away from sort of the cosmetic items to the genuine, deep-rooted benefits that come out of it. So that, for example, if you refresh the report and that report's locked because another user's in it, now we're able to identify, you know, where that point is, and in future we could build automation workflow around that to trigger that process and stuff. So we're moving much more into that space than pure cosmetic and user experience, which was the main focus, you know, pre-go live.
Excellent, and I think as we've seen there, obviously meeting that 5 minutes, it's given the users some insights as to where they want to transform now. And obviously start using the tool, going further, maybe replicating this to other processes, within the business as well. In saying that, SAP wasn't the only choice for the bank at the time, or for Standard Chartered Bank. So there were a number of other tools in the mix. Without going into names and specifics around those, can we talk about maybe some of the challenges that we saw, that were being faced where SAP's IRPA came out, with a solution, and obviously starting to look at some of that integration to that existing landscape that we had as well.
Yeah, it's true. We did have a couple of really sort of bad false starts on the project with other technologies. We're a big global bank. We have lots of automation tools licensed, including all of the big names that many of you will have in your own organization. And for several parts of SAP, they probably would have worked fine, such as, automation of journals or automation of a reconciliation or something like that. What we quickly realized was the problem that we have to solve with Disclosure Manager and the refresh of the report is probably as complicated as it's going to get, which will probably be my second tip to this group, which is if you're going to do a POC or a pilot of this, don't choose something easy, because most tools will be able to do, journals or recs. Go for something really hard, because then you've hit the lowest common denominator, so then you can then cover the other use cases. Otherwise, as a finance function, we find that we would have to use one tool to automate this bit and another tool to do that. Now that we've proven this process works on IRPA, we know now we can do more or less any automation within the SAP stack. This is native to SAP. The other complexity of Disclosure Manager is our front end is embedded Excel. It's called Accounting for Office. So it's an Excel front end. So how AFO integrates with SAP, integrates with IRPA, that's all native engineering. Whereas if you bring in a third-party tool, that's where we had problems. So these other big tools, they could do part of the process, but it took us 6-8 weeks to discover it couldn't do the end-to-end. And we jumped from one to another until then we spoke to SAP about IRPA, because we felt at the beginning the mistake we made is we thought, well, let's just use what we've got within there. And obviously the vendors of those products are not too expert on how they integrate with SAP. So that was definitely a lessons learned, from there. And then once we got going with it and we did a pilot to prove this could work end to end, we moved very quickly, and the rest of it was just putting the bells and whistles around it. But it was a matter of weeks to get this up and running, and something we could show users.
Definitely. And I think you've touched on a very good point there. We started off with a pilot. So there was some concerns originally, obviously having some other tools. So being able to deliver that small, and I remember this myself, that small proof of concept, in the middle of last year, obviously showcasing the functionality at a high end. We can see here on the screen, showcasing the concept that we had before building this out into a larger project and obviously a larger piece of work that allowed the objectives to be met. From that perspective as well. A couple more questions, obviously from my side is, looking at the future now. You've touched on a little bit before about how the bank wants to improve the processes. They've now run their process entirely autonomous last quarter. Where do we see some of these future trends, with the intelligent enterprise, or specifically around the IRPA robotics, sort of going? Do you think it's something from a finance side that more and more of the bank's processes or industry processes will start to be adopted here, or?
Oh, 100%, yes. I mean, like I said earlier, people don't want to be in finance to sit and churn through operational processes. It can be very dull, repetitive, and you're going to see attrition to do that. They want to be supporting the business to make decisions and processes such as FP&A, planning, strategic decision making, and therefore there's always going to be that push around automation, so that they can take the people and put them onto those more value add functions. So I think the other tip I will give is sometimes on automation, there's this pre-project about cleaning up the process first and making it as lean as possible before you apply automation. I have a slightly different contrary view to that, which is you're going to automate it, and these things run in seconds. So therefore, if it's the effort and the investment of time, put that onto the automation rather than cleaning up the process to a 99% efficiency and Six Sigma applied. Put the automation in and see the power of what it can introduce there first. Otherwise, you will invest a lot of time, and the needle may not move that much in terms of what you've achieved.
No, definitely, and I think it's a very good recommendation for our audience here as well. And it sort of leaves me to sort of the last question or so. Looking at regulated industries, specifically banking, a lot of our people that have dialed in today are from these industries. Is there anything that we would, we could recommend, or any recommendations we can make to them? Obviously, you mentioned, security before, we mentioned proof of concepts, but anything that these regulated industries could take into consideration before starting their journey? Yeah, so the compliance one we touched on earlier is huge in not just in banking, but in pharma and so forth. So for me, what data are you putting where? The groups will say, are you telling us you're going to put the bank's data onto SAP's public cloud? And we have to say, no, it's literally just to trigger, it's metadata to trigger this process. And they ask a lot of questions around that. So that's one big aspect. But secondly,
there's so much you can do, again, from network traffic and network engineering and the governance that often sits within banks around that as well. You know, you're going to have to open proxy ports for IRPA to work. You're going to have a look at IP addresses. You're going to have to install debug tools to get into the code to troubleshoot bugs. And some of the tools we wanted for SAP, we were licensed, were ready to go. And there was a couple of them we had to go and get put in at short notice. So all of this can be done up front. This will take a huge amount of time out of your project if you do that up front. So get your engineering teams lined up, get your technical approval groups lined up and knowing who to talk to and the information they're going to need from SAP to do that. Your business compliant groups about what you're doing with data and what's going near there. That in the total of the project is about 80% of the effort. The problems we had were very little to do with IRPA. It was more to do with internal within the bank and how traffic moves in and out of our network and setting that up. And because this is cutting edge, they often haven't encountered it before. And therefore you have to educate them as to why we're not putting the bank at risk and we're not opening ports into, you know, potential hacking risk and so forth. So if you can deal with that up front, that is the number one where you can take material amounts of time into making IRPA. Now for us, if we're going to move on to our next use cases of automation of recs, journals or whatever, we can now do this in days. We can automate, we can record the process, build that, enable this literally within days now because we've done all of that heavy lifting up front.
That's yeah, excellent. As you've mentioned, you know, taking some of those prerequisites away, you know, definitely from our experience, you know, saves an enormous amount of time, which is fantastic from there. Looking now just at the Q&A that's coming through, you know, a couple more questions if you don't mind. How many bots in total did we have deployed for the entire SCB project? You know, to allow us to automate to obviously meet the time frame of 5 minutes, and how long was the time frame before the automation?
So I'll ask RK, who's on the call. He's my chief engineer in this space, to answer that. I think we started off with an estimation that we could probably do about 3 or 4. We're using virtual machines, and then it quickly grew. Why? Because we had to hit this 5-minute target that I mentioned at the beginning. So therefore, the more parallelization you can do with more bots and more VDIs, the faster you can reduce that time. Okay, do you want to just talk a little bit about that to the group? Mike, could you give RK presenter rights? Is that possible?
Sorry, can you hear me now? Sorry,
yeah.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I think you put it right. So our target is to keep the timeline to constant, right? So if we have to meet within the 5-minute objective, our quarterly batch size is lighter than half year and then yearly. So when we run the quarterly, we run in a reduced batch, reduced number of bots. When we run half yearly, we add more bots. When we run yearly, we add more bots, so we can have more parallelization. So for the yearly last year batch, we used about 25 bots. For a quarter, for last quarter, we used only 10 bots. So it depends on the volume of the reports and how many bots you want to add to keep the process running in that time.
Excellent. And RK, how long was this process taking before the IRPA on average, we could say?
So before the automation, it was a very sequential process. So a user has to go into the DM and open a report one by one and click a refresh. So one refresh typically takes about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So you can imagine having to do that with 300 reports would take forever. So I mean, roughly, if they deploy more bodies, they can probably finish it within half an hour or 40 minutes for a full year-end cycle. Which is now we have squeezed it within 10 minutes time frame with automation.
And Jack, I would just probably add, just to make this real in terms of work-life balance to the theme Mike opened the session up with. these guys, when they close our books at quarter end, they typically work through a weekend. So they would work 36 hours without a break to get the numbers out to do that. We actually took, for the first time we did this, when we first went live, we avoided that happening. They did normal workday hours, and they closed the books for the whole bank one full day early, and that's with more normal working hours and not having to do 36 hour shifts. And the flexibility, as RK mentioned there, when we do get peak periods, we can enable more bots to parallelize more. The other aspect to bear in mind is as well, depending on your licensing agreement with SAP, based on the number of transactions and things like that, that's also a consideration of how many bots you enable with that. That's worth a discussion early with SAP around, what is the driver for the licensing agreement, and then versus what you need to achieve from the project. That's definitely a conversation to have, earlier. But yeah, it's been it's not often you have users raving about technology actually making a difference, but in this particular case, you can imagine that you have finance accountants, people who are saying goodbye to their families, thinking they're going to have to do 36-hour shift to get these numbers out. They can finish now at 6 o'clock, and they take a full day out of the closing period. It's been fantastic.
Which I think is a fantastic achievement. As you said, taking a full day out and obviously giving that time back to the people to spend with their families and have loved ones and whatnot. Is a fantastic outcome. We can't argue with that. With that, I thank you both, Stuart and RK, for the walkthrough of what we've done here at Standard Chartered Bank. I'll hand back over to Mike now, and we'll go through with Swati and stop for some questions towards the end.
Great, thanks, Jack, and thanks, thanks, Stuart, and thanks, RK. That was some really, really good insights. I'm going to hand over now to Swati, who'll take us through some of the use cases, and obviously, and then a demo. So sort of put this in some sort of context from that perspective. So thank you very much again, Jack and Stuart and RK. Swati, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Hope my screen is visible.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Swati Balani, and I'm from the SAP S/4HANA product management team at SAP Labs India. So today I'll show you some use cases and demos in the financial shared service centers. So we'll see how to automate in the financial shared service centers. So as we know, the Gartner's research finds out that more than 80% of the shared service organizations have implemented RPA technology. And many shared service centers focus on single process, like a single process within accounts payable, and some even locate the entire end-to-end process within the shared service center. So in this example, we see the end-to-end P2P process within the shared service center running on SAP S/4HANA. So we have many standard bots available from SAP Intelligent RPA in the bot store for SAP S/4HANA. So as we see, the first bot here is for master data creation. So mass creation of business partner from Excel. Then we have a bot for purchase order confirmation, for inbound delivery, for supply invoices, for automating upload of manual entries, journal entries, and the supply invoices, for automating the release of block supply invoices, for supply invoice status check, for supply down payment request. And we also have a bot for business partner master data check to check the consistency of the master data before doing the payment run, so that the errors can be fixed before execution of the payment run. So these standard bots are all available out of the box in the RPA bot store, and they can be used with SAP S/4HANA. And to complement the SAP Intelligent RPA, we also have machine learning capabilities for GRIR reconciliation. We have situation handling, the advanced payment management for central payment, and the real-time reporting with embedded analytics available with SAP S/4HANA system. So thus, within the SAP S/4HANA shared service center, we can automate the end-to-end P2P process. And now I'll give you a demo on one of the bots from here. So we'll see a demo on the supply invoice status check. So as we know, the accounts payable clerk spends a huge amount of time, checking emails from suppliers for inquiring about the invoices, if the invoices were paid or not, if they were paid, then what date they were paid. So this is a very manual and tedious task. So the accounts payable clerk usually has to spend hours looking at the emails first, one by one, and then going in the system one by one, looking for those invoices, checking the status if they are paid or not, and then replying back to each of those suppliers one by one again. So this tedious task, a manual task, is now automated with the bot. And we'll see here how the bot works. So this example here, you see that there's an email which has come from the supplier and it has an attachment. The attachment contains the details of the invoices, the invoice reference numbers, which the supplier wants to know the status of. So now here we go to the desktop agent and we click on the supply invoice status check bot. This will execute the start the bot. So now we click on the bot and the invoice is doing the status check, and you see this window pop up coming up. So the bot needs to know if it has to pick the supply invoice list from the email attachments or from local or shared folder. So this information has to be provided to the bot, and these can be stored in a variable prior to running the bot. It's a one-time activity where you can save all this information in a variable in the RPA factory. So you have these subfolder, inbox subfolder, and the search term like the supplier in this case, the start and end date for the emails to be checked, and the SAP S/4HANA system URL, and the folders where it should save the final output report. So we enter these details. We can change as well, and we can execute it. So as you see here, the bot is checking in the SAP S/4HANA cloud system for the invoices mentioned in the Excel file, and it has finished running now, and it has prepared a file, a bot execution report, as you see here, and also emailed it to the suppliers and to the required stakeholders. So this bot execution report Excel file, as you see, contains the details about the invoice status, if it is paid, if it is in approval, or if it is blocked, and the date when it was paid. So this entire process is automated. Even the replying back to suppliers is automated. So this was a short demo on the supply invoice status check bot. Next, we see the next process, that is the order to cash process. So again, we have a lot of standard bots available within the SAP bot store with SAP Intelligent RPA for SAP S/4HANA. So here within the SAP S/4HANA Shared Service Center, these bots can be executed and the process can be automated. So we have a bot for business partner mass creation from Excel, for mass maintenance of sales prices, for creating the sales inquiry, for automatic creation of sales orders, for outbound delivery for PGI, for automated upload of manual entries, customer invoices, for uploading the bank statement files, and also for uploading the payment advice. Also, we have a bot for uploading the down payments. And also in the dispute management, we have a bot for managing the customer email response. And besides these standard bots, we also get machine learning capabilities with cache application, which reconciles open invoices and payments. And we also get extraction with the cache application. And the situation handling provides information about invoices skipped in payment advices, and the real-time reporting with embedded analytics. So thus, these are all standard capabilities available with SAP S/4HANA. And you can also create custom bots, which can be built with no-code, low-code approach with easy drag and drop in SAP RPA 2.0 release. So this was the how the automation happens for order to cash process in SAP S/4HANA system, shared service system. Now, I'll show you a bot here, a demo on the automated upload of manual entries. We'll see how this works. So again, entering the manual entries in system is a tedious task and it takes a lot of time. Now, this process is automated with the SAP Intelligent RPA bot. So here you see that the user has received an email with two attachments. So one is the GL journal entry template and the other is the customer invoice template. So these attachments, they contain details of the journal entries to be posted. So we'll see. So you see these templates, and the templates are filled with entries here, the GL accounts and the amounts. Next, we see this is the automation factory for our with information about the email addresses for the stakeholders, with the the root folders where the data should be, the output report should be saved. So all this data can be maintained in the variables. We now go to the desktop agent and we execute the bot. So first we fetch the journal entry from the Outlook, and this bot fetches the Excel files and saves it in a folder, in the root folder. You see the to be processed folder here. Next, the bot automates the upload. So it picks up these journal entries and the customer invoices and it posts them in the system. So you see the SAP S/4HANA system here. Now this is an API-based bot. That's why you cannot see it in front end, the execution happening. But at the end, we see a report, the bot execution report. And this is the outcome of the execution. So both the invoice have got posted, the GL entries have got posted, and you see the counting document numbers as well. And we can go and verify the SAP S/4HANA system, these journal entries. So thus this process has got automated, and we also see the results. We also see the error and the completed folders in the root folder here. We can see detailed log if there are any errors in the automation. So this was all about the bot for automating the manual journal entries. So next process is the R2R process, the record to report process. So again, we have a lot of standard bots available in the RPA bot store for SAP S/4HANA. We have a bot for general ledger entry, automated upload. We have the smart accrual collector, which creates the accrual object. Next, we have the automated generation of GL reclass postings. And from this month, we also are planning to release a lot of bots around asset accounting. We also get embedded analytics, the analytical apps, dashboards, and data analyzer reports with SAP S/4HANA, thus automating the R2R process. And in addition, users can always create custom bots easily with low-code, no-code approach. And here I show you an example of how this custom bot can be built. So this is a use case for exchange rate lookup and system update. So as we know, this is a tedious process to daily look in the websites, download the exchange rates and upload in the system. And this is a manual and repetitive task, right? This has to happen every day, or maybe every once a week, or every day usually. So this tedious task gets automated with the help of bots. So we can build custom bot. First, we can build a bot to download the latest currency exchange rate from the approved websites. Then we can put the logic in the bot to upload the exchange rates into the system, SAP S/4HANA or any ERP system, based on defined rules. And then we can put the logic in the bot to send confirmation to stakeholders with exceptions, if any. And finally, the finance team can verify and handle the exceptions, if any. So thus, the SAP Intelligent RPA bots can work with multiple applications, websites, emails, Excels, documents, and multiple ERP systems as well. So this was all about the automation. So we saw how the intelligent technologies from SAP like SAP Intelligent RPA can automate a single process or a complete end-to-end process within the financial shared service center running on SAP HANA system. So next I hand over to Mike.
Perfect. Thank you, Swati. Thank you. Just hold you can hold the presentation there. Before
Sure.
we go into the Q&A and some and the poll, I'd just like to remind everybody this was the second of the 4 that we're running. We have 2 more left to focus on, particularly around planning, reconciliation, reporting. We have a partner that's going to talk to us about some of the use cases there, and also around financial close. So please, register for those if they're of interest to you, and from that perspective. Right, let's just go to the Q&A. There's a couple in the Q&A that we will talk to. I think we've already answered that, have been deployed on this project. So RK answered that question. Great session. For the AP invoice status spot, so I suppose this one's back with you, Swati. Would the incoming email require an Excel file in the same format, or can it intellectually work it out, the information, if the invoices were in the text of the email?
So right now the standard bot is developed to pick up the attachment from the email, and that has to be in a specific format. So we have templates, and these templates are available with the standard bots. So if you go to the bot store, you will get these templates. So yeah, these templates have to be used. And you can always build a custom bot with your own requirement. If you want it to work with some other way, you can always go ahead and build the custom bots. But the standard bot, which is available in bot store, it works with the email attachment with the template format. So hope it answers your question.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Swati, there's a question here around where we can download today's presentation slides and demos. We are recording this, so the recording will be made available to you. But is there a way that customers can contact you to get more information with regard to today's presentation, or particularly the recorded demo? Swati?
Yeah, sure. They can contact me anytime, and we can share the slides as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Excellent.
And I'm also available on LinkedIn. I have a lot of blogs on this, so people can follow me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. May we have the registration link? Yes, we will pass that through. A question to Stuart. Did Stuart tell us what he thought would be the next automation project?
I'm assuming that's within standard chart and not a job offer, but the yet to be defined. We've got 101 use cases lined up. If I was pushed as to where I think it's probably going to be in something like Rex, or the bane of every bank, intercompany reconciliations, where you have exception analysis because you don't capture the trading partner upstream, and therefore you have to do exception handling. It's a lot of manual work, and maybe something there, and also maybe in the FP&A space, because the FP&A team should be advisory to the business, not an operational team. So the more we can streamline and automate, and as any of you will know who've worked in FP&A, the sheer amount of data inputs that go into those reports, into those, especially in things like strategic planning, is huge. So the more we can automate that, again, it just frees up the guys to do the right discussions with the business rather than actually producing the number themselves. So nothing finalized yet, but probably in an area like that.
Okay. I suppose in relation to that, Stuart, how do you actually come up with these use cases? Do you actually take feedback? Do you poll? Do you use some sort of survey tool?
It's really just from the dialogue with the users and the delivery heads within the projects, Mike. So,
Okay.
you know, they as part of the requirements capture in the sprint, I'll say, you know what, when we do the design thinking and a day in the life of a user, and they'll say, you know what, guys, what really upsets me is when this doesn't work and I have to have 4 of my team spending 2 days fixing this data, or pulling the stuff together manually. That's where these sort of things usually get flushed out. And then, of course, the budget is not unlimited, so it has to go through some sort of refinement and prioritization call. But generally, it comes up through the user groups that we have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. One to everyone on the panel, I suppose, and it's a very broad question. How does IRPA work for organizations that have SAP Ariba system for their P2P activities? So I don't know, Swati, you obviously did the P2P scenario. Do you have a view on that? And maybe Stuart or okay, that's something that you've come across.
We have Ariba stand charts. We use or we are looking to implement R2P aspects of it. So through from PO, goods receipts, IR through into payments, but that's not there yet. We're still kicking that off. We do have the Ariba risk module for things like risk assessments on contracts. That's quite niche. That was I think ourselves and I think one other big bank use it, and a selection of smaller financial institutions as well. But at this stage, we haven't used IRPA automation. However, it is the type of process that is ripe for this kind of thing. And the classic use case that you see a lot is GRIR reconciliations and automation of that. Because again, the user who goes and does those process exception handling, they're following a rule book that they were taught when they joined the bank. They don't just guesswork. So if you can train a user to do it, we can train a bot to do it, and then we can free up that person to do something a bit more value add. So it'll definitely be in the automation sphere, but we just need to advance the implementation project a bit further.
Perfect, thank you. Look, if let me just go back to the Q&A. Okay, let's, there's one question here. How many iterations did it take for the IRPA automation for refreshing reports in 5 minutes, so especially for compliance?
Look, I think if I went back and looked at the process from day one of the project to where we are now, it's probably changed 50 times because of the learnings and so forth. The compliance one, not so much. The compliance one was more of educating them. Okay, so we have compliance officers who are not SAP technology literate. They've never touched it before. They may not even be finance focused. So you have to explain to them the process you're trying to automate, the technologies you're trying to do. But it usually comes down to just a few questions about what data are you putting on cloud, and so forth. So let's so from compliance, we went in there and we may have gone back with a couple of process tweaks on diagrams to get them across the line. But the real iteration was around when we actually put it in and we said, okay. And then when we got the users embedded into it, they come up with a lot of requests around how exception handling would work. If a report was locked, how do they want to deal with that? And then it was tweaked. But I think probably 50 in total, something in that region, and probably maybe 20 iterations of significant magnitude. But what you're talking about 3 or 4 a day at the peak part of the project, quick things and, things around like single sign-on and logins. We had a few discussions around there and how that would work. Exception handling, but the look and feel of the cloud factory, and from there. And we still get requests today to make changes, and we get plenty of JIRAs through to look at that as well. So those iterations will continue.
Perfect, thank you. There's a question here. Is there any bot that can work on SAP by design? I think, Hemant, you wanted to answer that one live.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do have some embedded bots released for the SAP by design this month. I think there are 4 of them. Please check the SAP Intelligent RPA bot store for these bots. And in subsequent quarters, we will further release many more bots for the by design as well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Some really good activity here and some really good questions coming in, which is great. There's one question here. Do we have any treasury bot in regard to the accrual and deferral process? So Swati, I think maybe that's something that you can answer, or Hemant.
Yeah, I think the one we have is a smart accrual bot, which Swati mentioned in the process. In terms of other processes, like I think we can build the custom bots. So for treasury, like there are a couple of customers. I'll give example, one oil and gas company who have done the complete accrual process automated in India using SAP Intelligent RPA, and they are saving a lot of time for the financial teams using the automation. So you can always build the custom bot as per your requirement, and you can always tweak the pre-built bots which are available in the SAP bot store. So there are more than 200 bots available in the SAP Intelligent RPA bot store, which can be utilized to create newer bots, and it helps in faster execution or faster implementation of the automation.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I think, Hemant, this one's for you as well. So while I've got you there, can you have a combination of both attended and unattended bots for a process along with a BER and document extraction process using models?
So in terms of combination of both attended and unattended bots for a process, yes, it's very much possible. So you can trigger a unattended bot from an attended bot. So you can utilize the combination of attended and attended. The advantage with SAP Intelligent RPA is it's a single framework. So you just need to define for a particular bot type, what is the kind of trigger this bot will take. Will it be an unattended bot or will it be an attended bot? And calling one bot from another bot, like as I mentioned, while you are running a attend process in an attended scenario, a user can, in the automation on a certain condition, can trigger an unattended bot, and an unattended bot can carry out the task, and then control comes back into the attended bot, right? So this kind of combination is very much possible.
Great, thank you, thank you. There's a question here that Stuart would like to answer live. So thoughts on using IRPA on basis housekeeping jobs? So Stuart?
Yeah, unless it's a different Sundar Raman, I suspect it's Sundar who works for me in Stanchart asking that question. So I may delegate this activity to Sundar to implement, but it's actually a really great suggestion. We have enormous volumes of data in our SAP estate within Stanchart, as most global banks do, and whilst we're on HANA platform on cloud, we do have to do a lot of housekeeping jobs, especially around removing things like log files and to keep the data under control. So we've not done it yet in terms of the basis tasks. I see no reason not to. And again, I guess within technology, we have to practice what we preach to the business, and we have to implement that in our own house to make sure that our engineers are working on proper value add activities and not deleting log files from tables every month. So can it do it? Absolutely, yes. We haven't done it yet. But that sort of triggered a light bulb in my head. That's something we should really get going within Standard Chartered over the next few weeks.
Perfect, perfect. We might just take one last question. I know we are at the top of the hour. Hemant, would you like to take that question around how to download the bots and additional charges, and is there a license?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the bot, there is no license. It's included with your SAP Intelligent RPA subscription. So the moment you subscribe to SAP Intelligent RPA product, you have access to this complete bot store, more than 200 built bots, and it's available in your cloud factory. So the moment you subscribe SAP Intelligent RPA, there is a bot store within your cloud environment or central orchestration piece. from where you can just download it, acquire it, configure it, and use it in your landscape. So it's very easy and quick start from that aspect. I'll take up the next question as well quickly before we wrap up the session.
Sure.
If the as-is involves SAP ECC and SRM and RPA, how will a future SAP S/4HANA and Ariba transition handle in this migration? For example, will it imply a redo and replacement of the existing RPA bots in place? Yes, so essentially, if you are utilizing a bot for, say, SAP ECC to carry out certain transaction on the screens, SAP GUI screens, now you move to the SAP S/4HANA, the processes will be completely changed and the screens will also be changed, right? So, of course, you will require a newer bots, and that's where we have the pre-built library both for ECC as well as S/4HANA. So you can utilize pre-built bot for ECC, and once you migrate to the or move to the S/4HANA, you can use the pre-built bot for S/4HANA as well. So this is the advantage which you get with the SAP Intelligent RPA. There are best practice bots available for both ECC and S/4HANA. Plus, in addition, we do support the as a native connector capability, like you can utilize the BAPI, for example. Now, if you are utilizing the BAPI based bot, then in that scenario, when you're moving to S/4HANA, the transition is much more simpler because you just need to change the RFC call and then bot will work, right, with the S/4HANA. So that kind of capability is available, which you can leverage while creating the bots. But yes, of course, the screen-based or UI-based bots, you need to rework on that. In terms of the migration as well, during you are migrating or moving from the legacy system to the newer technology capability or newer tech stack, there also you can utilize the bot for migration activities like your master data migration and configuration into your application. So yes, it's a useful tool for during the migration as well. And after the migration, you can again utilize it for the newer processes.
Perfect. Thanks, Hamid. Thank you. I will wrap it up there. Thank you very much to Stuart and RK from Standard Chartered. Some really good use cases there and some good examples. And it's nothing like hearing it from the customer themselves. Yeah, and Jack, thank you very much for facilitating that panel discussion with Stuart and RK. And Swati, thank you very much for your great demo and some conversations around, you know, some of the valuable use cases, particularly in the finance area. Again, please don't hesitate to reach out and register for the next 2 sessions. We will send a link out for those sessions coming up. But again, once again, thank you very much to the panel and to the team. And thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.